Samson, he does what any man would do. He catches 300 foxes. That's what a normal man would do, right? He would catch 300 foxes. Think about it. 300 foxes this man is able to hunt down. He puts fires on their tails and spreads them around the land so he can burn the Philistines' crops. Of course, the Philistines are not very happy. Think about 300 foxes going around burning your crops. That's how they lived. That's how they ate. They're so upset with the whole situation that they come to the Israelites because they realize that Samson was the one who did that. Let's jump to verse 11. 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cleft of the rock of Etam and said to Samson, "Do you not know that the Philistines rule over us? What is this that you have done?" And he said to them, "As they did to me, so I have done to them." Verse 12. But they said to him, "We have come down to arrest you, that we may deliver you in the hands of the Philistines." Think about what's happening right here. His own people were wanting to arrest him and saying, "Don't you know that the Philistines rule over us?" They are accustomed to the slavery. They don't want to be saved. You know, God could have brought up an army to deliver Israel, but the corruption was so great among the people that God had to make a one-man army. That's the only way. No wonder Samson was given so much strength in these moments that he was empowered by the Holy Spirit, because the people themselves were so accustomed to their reality of slavery that they were not wanting to be delivered. This can teach us another lesson too. Samson is being a leader here. And he's trying to bring changes, of course, for personal revenge. But the people, they really don't care. They want to stay in the status quo. They don't have any desire to make good changes, or at least jump on board to bring these good changes. When we talk about church, same thing. Many leaders sometimes try to bring different things to the church and try to motivate the church to leave out of their status quo. Many times, the things that we do here are not working. Many things that we're doing, we're just accustomed to the situation. And many times these things are bad for the church. They are evil for the church. And they go against the leaders of the church because they are accustomed to the reality that they live in. Well, Samson is delivered into the hands of the Philistines, and of course, they can't contain him. The ropes that they bind Samson, God gives him the spirit again, and he just breaks them off. Verse 30. Then Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." And he pushed with all his might, and the temple fell on the lords and all the people who were in it. So the dead that he killed at his death were more than he had killed in his life. It brings us to the question. It brings us to think, what could have been if Samson had dedicated his life to God? Look at the things that he was able to accomplish for himself, by God's mercies, far away from God. Can you imagine? Just think what God could have done in Samson's life if he only was faithful to him. If he was faithful to his call. This is the question that I need to answer. Because when we come to our life, how have you been fulfilling God's call in your life? Because I don't want, the last thing, I think one of my biggest prayers, I don't want to come to the end of my life as an old man, look back and see what could have been. What if I had done this? What if I had listened to this? How many people could I have brought to this church and they would encounter Christ? And they would eventually be saved because they made a commitment towards Christ. How many people did I just overlook because I had no time? Because in my darkest sins, I thought I just couldn't. be doing outreach because I'm too unworthy. See, if God is able to use a man like Samuel, don't look at your unworthiness. God can use anybody. He used even the donkey. How much can you make of a commitment towards Christ today? You don't want to be thinking about what could have been. Your time is nothing compared to what you can do through God, being an instrument in His hands to enlarge His kingdom. So when we're talking about the glow tracks, the business cards, this is just a tiny step. These are baby steps. But we can start like that. We can invite people. But above all things, the biggest sermon is our own life. People need to see it in your eyes. People need to see your passion. If you don't have a passion of witnessing, you don't have a passion for God. You don't. That's just a reality. Because every person that comes in contact with God and is changed and falls in love with God, the inevitable consequence will be to tell others about this God. That is just a consequence. So if you don't have this passion yet, think about, reevaluate your life. You need to have this passion. You need to come to a relationship. Because this is the only way that this church can grow, that this worldwide church can grow, and that Christ can come. Because Christ is coming soon, guys. This is the promise. He is indeed coming soon. What are we doing with our time? We don't want to be asking the question. What could have been? Let's live in the now. Let's live in the present. Let's do what is right. But above all things, the foundation is our relationship with Him. May God bless you. And may you be encouraged to do God's will in your life. Let's pray.